model it, or we try to say that when we are using these inputs, labor, capital, raw material, whatever. So using these inputs, we are producing a desired output. And during that production process, if we are generating some pollution or some kind of undesirable outputs, this conventional, our economic analysis generally ignores those kind of outputs. Okay, the reason behind that may be that in the initial stages, because this pollution was not a big issue or a big problem in that sense, so that's why what we used to do, that this environmental carrying capacity, we, that was not so scarce, it was abundant. And that's why we were thinking that using this environmental carrying capacity as an input, that's a free input, or we can say this pollution we can dispose of in free, that kind of assumption we had, and that's why we were ignoring. But now these pollution problems, they are very much intrinsic part of, you can say, this economic modeling. And that's why the issue is, if the firm is producing good and bad output simultaneously, then how we should model that, that is the concern. And in today's this talk, we are also going to talk about how, means this production of bad outputs from a firm perspective rather than a consumer perspective, how we can model it and what is the implication, that we will try to discuss on today's talk on that. Okay, so here what we are going to do is, this talk is, we can say, scheduled in this way, that first of all, let's try to understand what we mean by this good output or the bad outputs, how we define those good and bad outputs as in economics, that we have tried to understand that. Then during this production process, what are the standard axioms of a production technology, or we can say well defined technology, what kind of axioms this technology is supposed to satisfy, we briefly talk about that. And then we can say these bad outputs, they can be modeled in different ways, means they can be modeled as an input, they can be modeled as bad outputs. If we say they can be modeled as bad outputs, then there are the different ways of doing itself as a bad outputs. One is this weak disposability condition, means if in simple words we put it, what it says that this good and bad outputs, they are produced simultaneously. And if we have to reduce the good output, then obviously we need to reduce the good output also, if we wants to reduce the bad output. That kind of condition in the literature is known as this weak disposability. But here, I mean, some people have the concern that generally what we do, we are presenting this kind of production technology like a black box, means we are putting inputs and then outputs we are getting. But in this production process, what is happening, we just ignore that. Okay, but if we take into consideration, then how these good and bad outputs, they can be produced, that also briefly we will try to understand. And lastly, in this modeling part, that because these bad outputs, they are generated due to some of the inputs, like in, say, for example, say electricity generation, it's not the labor or capital which are generating these bad outputs, but it is the use of fossil fuels. By that these bad outputs are generated. So that's why, means during this production process, this generation of good output and generation of bad outputs, they may be two technologies which are interacting with each other. And that in the literature is known as this byproduction technology, means these bad outputs, they are the byproducts of this production process. So these are the different ways. And lastly, in today's talk, we will talk about the application, one application of how we should model and how empirically we do that. Okay, so this way we have planned this today's talk in that. Okay, and let's first start with this definitional question of good and bad output. Okay, so there, what we can say, this good and bad output, how we define these outputs. And here simply we can say we are say that during this production process we are producing a vector of good output y and a vector of bad outputs b, and these bad outputs they are inevitably produced during this production process. Means we are producing good and bad outputs during this production process. We start with that kind of framework, and here the question is how we define a good or bad output. Okay, and we can say the good output. If in simple terms we take that, good output is that if bad output level is given, more of good is better. Means we prefer more quantity of an output given the other, then we can say this output is a good one. Okay, for example, say if y prime is greater than equal to y, and where y prime is greater than equal to y, and as a result what we say this y prime b is preferred over yb, then we can say it is a good output. Okay, simply when we say more of one is preferred, that output we consider as a good output. Okay, but on the other side, if rather than more, less is preferred of an output, that output we may consider as a bad output. Okay, in this example of electricity generation, by burning fossil fuels and other using other inputs, we are producing electricity as well as the pollution. So during that process, what we want more of the electricity. So that's why in this process we can say electricity is a good output, but the pollution, we don't prefer more of the pollution but less of the pollution, because pollution is a harmful output. Okay, so in that sense what we can say the pollution is a bad output because we are preferring less of it given the level of the quantity of the good output. Okay, so if we say b prime is less than equal to b, and in that sense why b prime is preferred over yb, then this b we consider as a bad output. So in that way we are defining this good and bad outputs. Okay, and diagrammatically if we have to present this, how this good and bad outputs, we are saying this firm is producing these two outputs. One is good output y and other is the bad output b. Okay, in the conventional microeconomics what we used to do, there we used to present this production of two good outputs y1 and y2, and in that this isoquants, they shows your production process, production technology is represented by these isoquants. Okay, so there what we see that there is trade-off between these two outputs. If we want to produce more of one, then we can produce less of the other. Downward sloping, convex to the origin, that kind of isoquants we used to study. Okay, but here what we are saying, we have one good output and other is the bad output. So in that situation, these isoquants, rather than downward sloping, they are upward sloping. Okay, so here this isoquant 2, that gives consumer a higher level of utility in comparison to isoquant 1, that gives more, you can say, if we try to put in terms of the indifference curve, then we can say this indifference curve 2 is provides higher utility to the consumer in comparison to isoquant 1, because as we go to this indifference curve 2, there what we are observing, with this given level of the bad, more of good output is preferred, or for the given level of good output, less of the bad is preferred. Okay, so this indifference curve 2, it gives higher utility to the consumer if we are putting from the consumer perspective. Okay, so means this bad output, we mean when we prefer less of that given all other things. Good output when more of it is preferred in comparison to less, that we define the good output. This is the simple definition we are putting of this good and bad outputs. Okay, then the question is how to model these good and bad outputs when the firms are producing these outputs simultaneously. Okay, so here we consider this production technology or any industry when it's producing this marketed output, which may be a scalar or a vector of outputs, which we are showing this y vector, which is a real positive number in that sense. And the firm is also producing bad outputs. For example, these emissions, different kind of emissions. Okay, the firm is producing good and bad outputs simultaneously. And when this firm is producing these outputs, good and bad outputs, the firm is using inputs. And these inputs, again, we can classify into two categories. One is this emission causing inputs, and other is non-emission causing inputs. Okay, so in the emission causing inputs, what we can say, these fossil fuels, they are the emission causing inputs, but these non-emission causing inputs are the standard labor, capital, renewable energy, those kind of inputs we may classify as non-emission causing inputs. So means during this production process, the firms are employing inputs. Some of the inputs may be emission causing, but some of the inputs are not emission causing. So using these kind of inputs, the firms are producing both good and bad outputs. Okay, in this example of this electricity industry, then what we can say, the firms are using coal, labor, capital, those kind of inputs. Okay, coal we can say an emission causing input. This labor, capital, they are not emission causing inputs. So using these inputs, these firms are producing, say, electricity and CO2 emissions. Okay, so then this production technology means we can say during this production technology, we are presenting in such a way that using these inputs, the firms can produce the outputs, which are good and bad outputs. That way we are putting the production technology. Okay, this production technology we can represent in different ways. Production technology can be presented in terms of, you can say, this output set or the input requirement set. Output set P, CX, or input requirement set LYB. Either way we can present. Okay, so when we are presenting this production technology as an output set, there what we say that means using these inputs, labor and capital, for the given level of what we are doing, we are trying to produce this good and bad outputs, and this output set, it satisfy all the axioms of the production technology. Okay, or alternately, this we can say, here we are trying to say this output maximization kind of framework, if we are representing production technology in terms of the output set. Okay, on the other side, this input requirement set, that way we also can represent the technology. This input requirement set also represents the production technology. Okay, in that framework, what we are trying to do, that this input requirement set also satisfy all the axioms of the production technology. Okay, or alternately, what we can say here, for the given level of the good and bad outputs, we are trying to minimize the input use. What is the minimum income input requirement, that is represented by this input requirement set. So the production technology can be presented by either technology T, or this output set PCX, or input requirement set LYB. Either way we can represent the production technology. Okay, and during this either way of presenting the technology, we are considering both good and bad outputs. Also we are considering both kind of inputs, emission causing inputs as well as non-emission causing inputs. Okay, this is the simple representation of production technology that we can have to consider. Okay, in this production technology, what we are saying, this production technology is supposed to satisfy certain actions. Okay, so here we start with that if we are not giving any inputs, then we cannot produce any output. Okay, so this inactivity is possible. What it implies that if we are not putting the efforts, there cannot be the output. If we need the output, then obviously we have to put some efforts in terms of the input. If inputs are zero, the first zero we can say for the inputs and the next zero is for the outputs. If we are putting zero inputs, then obviously there will be zero out. Okay, means inactivity is possible. That kind of production technology we start. And then the second axiom is what? That this production technology is closed. What it mean by that? By using a certain quantity of the inputs. It's not that you can produce unlimited outputs. Okay, or or we can say that this production technology has an upper bound on that. If we are using inputs, labor and capital, and producing some desired output using a certain quantity of the labor and capital, we can produce only a limited amount of the output. It's not that we can produce unlimited amount of the output. So in that sense, we are saying the production technology is closed and it has an upper bound. It's not that unlimited output we can produce. Okay. So like this inactivity assumption, here what we are trying to say, if these different vectors of the inputs and outputs, they belongs to our production technology, and in that situation, if we are putting zero inputs of both kind of the inputs, then the output is also zero. Means there is no free lunch. If we have to produce something, then obviously we have to put the efforts. But the combination of these two inputs or either of the inputs, different combination of the inputs, either it can produce some output or not. It depends whether those inputs are essential or not. For example, say if we are talking about this thermal power generation, in the thermal power generations, we can produce electricity only if we are using some positive quantity of the coal or these fossil fuels. Otherwise, we cannot do. Although we have the labor and capital, but if we have zero of the fuels, that means we cannot produce electricity. In that sense, this input, fossil fuels, they are the essential inputs. Okay, so means here that way we are trying to say. So these are the standard axioms in any production technology. Even if we are not talking about this production of bad outputs, in that situation also we have to consider these basic axioms of the production technology. Okay, then here what we are trying to do is, because our main focus is modeling these bad outputs. Okay, so that's why means what are the specific assumptions about the disposability of good and bad outputs, that also we try to understand. Okay, in the conventional, what we are saying, if these vectors of the inputs and output, if they belongs to a production technology T, then for any quantity of y bar, if it is less than y, and if all other things we are considering as it is, if they are given, then also if it satisfy the technological conditions or if belongs to the same technology, what we can say, then those outputs are fairly disposable. Means with the given inputs, if let's take in conventional sense, if suppose using this labor and capital, we are producing this output y. Okay, and if we want to produce less of the y, and if it is feasible, if products less of the y is feasible, that means with the given inputs, that means what? That this y output is fairly disposable. To dispose of this good output or this output y, we are not required to incur any further cost. with the GIN, or alternatively, what you can say, if you have this production frontier, the firms can operate either at the frontier or below the frontier. If this is possible, that means we are assuming free disposability of the output. Okay, and in that sense, that we can say is the free disposability of the good output. Similarly, we can say the free disposability of the bad outputs. Okay, but in case of bad outputs, as later on in more detail we talk about, it's not feasible. If we want to reduce the bad output, or if it is possible to produce less of the bad outputs with the given good output and other inputs, because it's the bad, less is preferred, so we try to do so. Okay, so uh, this condition, the second condition is, means it not seems rational. The first condition seems rational because with the given inputs and bad outputs, we want to produce more, but we cannot go beyond the frontier. It shows that kind of condition. Okay, but if it is feasible to produce less of the bad output with the given inputs, obviously we will prefer that. Okay, the second condition, it seems counterintuitive, or you can say it's not a rational kind of behavior. Okay, so that's why this condition we need to go in more detail and check how to model when this bad output should be. This is the questions that we are discussing. This disposability of the bad. This question specifically where, with respect to good output, we can assume free disposability safely, but with respect to bad outputs, assuming free disposability is not, or is imply irrationality. Okay. Similarly, about the inputs, the free disposability of the inputs, what we mean by that? That means a given level of output, this condition of the free disposability of the inputs, what this condition implies, with the given level of the output, this given level of the output can be produced with the same level of inputs or more of that. Okay, or we can say this is something that this firm is operating either on the isoquant or above the isoquant, because these isoquants are drawn in the space of the inputs. Okay, and these conditions with respect to output, we have to make the production possibility frontier rather than the isoquant, because production possibility frontiers, they are drawn in space of the outputs. Isoquants are drawn in space of the input vector. Okay, so means these are, and in the conventional literature, what we do, either we ignore this condition with respect to bad outputs, or if we are ignoring this condition, what it implies, that that also implies per se we are assuming free disposability of the bad outputs, which not seems to be a rational approach. Okay, this is the problem. Okay, so that's why the question is how to model these bad outputs. Okay, so these bad outputs, they can be disposed, or can be modeled in different ways. Okay, so what we observe, generally we observe that when we are producing good and bad outputs during the production processes simultaneously, and there what we observe, there is a positive association between good and bad outputs. When we increase the production of the good outputs, the production of the bad outputs also increases. If we want to produce more of the electricity, more of the CO2 emissions also generated during this electricity generation in the thermal power plants. Because why? Because to generate more of the electricity, we have to burn more coal, and if we are burning more coal, then obviously there will be more emissions in that process. Okay, so means there is a positive association between good and bad outputs. We can observe like this. Okay, so if in the graph you put simply what you can say, suppose this kind of situation we take, this is your good output and this is bad output. So in that sense, your production means both should be a positive. It may not be a straight line, but a positive association may observe. If we are increasing good output, then bad outputs are also increased. Okay, this kind of phenomena we may observe. Okay, but the question is how to model it. One way of modeling is that, like good output, if we assume bad output is also fairly disposable. Okay, so this fairly disposability of the bad output, what it implies that? It implies that this bad outputs, if we want to produce less of that, okay, so suppose this is this kind of graph we take. Okay, so to produce this level of electricity, say y bar, this output level is given, and if we want to produce less of the bad, it should be preferred, less of bad should be preferred in that. Okay, then the question is why we are producing more of this bad rather than the less, means rather than this point why we should not do that. Okay, if we are, because less of the bad is preferred, so this assumption is in conflict with this notion of the rationality. So these bad outputs, if we have to reduce, then obviously we can reduce it by incurring some kind of the cost. This disposability of the bad is not in free. The disposability of the bad is some way costly. Okay, if it is costly, then how to model? This is the question. Okay, so here these three may be the different ways of modeling this bad outputs. This earlier literature in this environmental economy, what they do, they consider these bad outputs like the inputs. Okay, and why so? Because conventionally what we observe, there is a positive relationship between inputs and outputs. Good output and conventional inputs, there is a positive kind of relationship. Suppose this is our good output and this is our input rather than bad output. Okay, so there what we observe, if we put more of the inputs, more of the output is produced, a positive association between inputs and output. Okay, similarly in the observed behavior, what is found that this good and bad outputs, they are also positively associated. So using that kind of, you say, analogy, this earlier literature, they consider these bad outputs as inputs. Okay, so what is its implication, whether it's a rational approach or not, that we have to see. Okay, the other is that this disposal of the bad, means if we say it is bad output and we want to produce less of it, and earlier suppose you are taking this at this point, now you want to produce less of the bad, so as a result what is happening, your good output also get reduced. You want to reduce bad, your good output is also get reduced. Okay, so this kind of framework that comes under this weak disposability output. Okay, in bioproduction technology, as we later on see in more detail, there what we assume that there are two technology. One is producing good output and other is producing bad outputs. And these two technologies are interlinked to each other. They are interaction of these. Okay, so first let's take this bad output as conventional production inputs. Okay, so when we are considering this bad outputs as conventional inputs, so this conventional inputs, what's our assumption? Our assumption is that this bad out these inputs, all conventional inputs, what we assume, they are fairly disposable. Okay, free disposability of these inputs, what it implies, shows that if graphically we say this is our, you say, isoquant, this is input 1 x1 and this is our input 2 x2, that way we are showing it. Okay, so it is, the firm may be producing on this isoquant Y bar is producing, or the firm may be operating above than the isoquant. Okay, so to produce this Y bar level of the output, either we need the same level of inputs or more of the inputs. That implies free disposability of the inputs. Okay, and if we consider these bad outputs as conventional inputs, that means we are not able, means that means what it means, that this assuming free disposability means for the given level of this output, either we are using the same quantity or more of that. Okay, this positive relationship between good and bad outputs as resources are diverted. And why so? Because there, what we are assuming, that if we have to reduce the bad output, if we have to reduce the bad output, and this reduction in the bad is feasible only by doing abatement activities. And if we have to do abatement, that means it means we have to divert the resources for the abatement activities. Less of the inputs, these conventional inputs, they are available for the production of good output, because resources are diverted for the abatement of the bad. Okay, so as a result, good output also get reduced. Okay, the logic is simple, that this, if we have to reduce the bad output, for that we have to divert the conventional resources like labor and capital. And if we are diverting those resources, that means less of the good will be produced. So that's why, to reduce bad, we have to reduce the good also. So in that way, we can model this bad output as inputs. This is the logic in that. Okay, but during this process, one, these abatement activities, they may require resources like this labor, capital, all those kind of resources, but not the fossil fuels. In this example of electricity generation, so what it implies, that we need to differentiate between these two kind of inputs, conventional inputs and emission causing inputs. That we need to differentiate. Okay, and if we want to reduce the pollution, that we can do only by less use of the fossil fuels, rather than simply employing the more, means in abatement activities, just diverting this labor and capital. If we are using the same amount of the pollution but less of the labor and capital to produce the same level of electricity, then the emissions will not be produced less. It will be the same. Means in that way, these abatement activities, they will not able to reduce the emissions. Okay. Second problem is what? This assumption of the free disposability of emission causing inputs. In this framework, when we are considering these bad outputs as inputs, okay, so there we are not differentiating these other inputs and emission causing inputs also, because all inputs we are considering in a same fashion. Okay, but this emission causing inputs, these fossil fuels, they are not freely disposable. If they are freely disposable, so what it implies, again, it's counter to your rationality assumption. Okay, so means what we can say, when the amount of non-emission causing inputs is held fixed at X, the minimal amount of emission causing inputs that's required to produce Y amount of the economic output, and B prime or B bar amount of the emission is less than the minimal amount required to produce the same amount of economic output but at a lower amount of the emission. Okay, so means considering emission as an input, that don't reflect the rationality. It shows counter rational behavior of the producer. Okay, then what is the case? then this is considering bad outputs rather than fairly disposable, rather than considering them as inputs, but considering them as an output. Okay, so this Fair et al. And their is colleagues, they have produced a large literature in this area. They are the first people, those who started considering this bad output as an output rather than the inputs. Earlier literature before them, they used to consider this bad outputs as inputs simply on the assumption that because both are positively associated, on that assumption. Okay, so here means when they say this production technology which is producing good and bad outputs, and there they consider these good outputs, they can be fairly disposable, the inputs they can be fairly disposable, but the bad outputs they are not fairly disposable, they are weakly disposable. So they here what they are doing, they are taking two further axioms of this production technology. They are considering two more axioms in that. Okay, so one axiom is that these good and bad outputs, they are null joint. One axiom is that what they are considering, these good and bad outputs, they are null joint. What it mean by that? If we wants to produce zero amount of the bad outputs, then your production technology will not produce a positive quantity of the good output. If we are producing zero amount of the bad outputs, then your production technology will not allow you to produce positive quantity of the good output. Okay, that axiom is known as this null jointness. This null jointness assumption. Okay, means here if we are producing zero quantity of the bad outputs, what it implies? Zero quantity of the good outputs. There is null jointness between these two. Okay, then this weak disposability assumption, what this assumption shows that if suppose we wants to produce less of the bad outputs, then for that purpose what we need to do, we have to produce less of the good output also. Reduction in bad outputs involves simultaneous proportional reduction in marketed output. If we wants to produce this technology that satisfy, and suppose this alpha is some proportional factor which lies between 0 and 1, then using the same quantity of the inputs, the lesser of this good and bad outputs is produced by the same technology. Okay, this axioms is known as the weak disposability axioms. Okay, so here what we are trying to say, if we have to reduce the bad outputs, for that matter, for the given level of the inputs, we end up producing less of the good output. So in that sense, what we can say, the production of or this reduction in bad outputs is not in furry. The reduction in bad outputs is costly. Cost we are paying in terms of the less of the good output. That assumption is known as weak disposability assumption. This is the another way of, we can say, modeling bad outputs. And this, but during this process, what we observe is here, what we have considered, that there are these inputs, and these inputs, there are these inputs, and these inputs are producing these outputs. There are inputs and there is outputs. But how it is done, that we are not considering. Okay, so in that sense, this conventional, even with weak disposability assumption, this conventional modeling is presenting this production technology like a black box. Okay, so before going into these network technologies, let's think about how to how to formulate this production set when this technology is modeled as weak disposability. Okay, so here for simplicity, if we assume there are constant returns to scale, the production possibility set under weak disposability of the bad and free disposability of the market outputs, we can formulate in this way. In this way, we can formulate. Okay, this production possibility set under weak disposability, we are considering, there what you are doing, these are your outputs and inputs, good and bad, emission causing inputs and non-emission causing inputs. Okay, so there what you say, you can, means this observed output, your observed output, and this is your frontier output. Frontier output is greater than equal to the observed output. Okay, but with respect to bad outputs, there what you can assume, you can say your observed output, observed bad output is equal to the frontier outputs. It cannot be more than that or less than that. Okay, and with respect to inputs, what are our assumptions? Their assumptions are that these observed inputs, they are greater than equal to the frontier inputs. That way we can do it. Okay, and in this framework, this these z vectors, what they are, we can say they are the intensity variables that are the weights assigned to each observation in the construction of these frontier values. Okay, so that way we can model under the weak disposability assumption. And the problem one, that this is treating this production technology as black box. The another problem is that this weak disposability assumption fails to account for the material balance condition. Okay, because during this production processes, from the physics, what we know, that this sum total, when we are putting these inputs into the production process, their form is changed, but the mass of this material, that's not changing. So that's why this mass of the inputs and outputs, they should be the same. That is the material balance conditions, or we can say this first law of the thermodynamics. Okay, but if we are considering the weak disposability kind of conditions, that means what? We are ignoring these axioms of the thermodynamics. Okay, so these are the shortcomings in the weak disposability assumption of modeling bad outcomes. Okay, so the another way means, here what we said, that this is like a black box. During this production process, how this reduction or this emission generation, how it takes place, or this abatement process, how it takes place, that we are not considering. So here, as an alternate, we can have these network technologies. Okay, so in the network technologies, what we can say, in this thermal power plant, we have two production processes. One is the process that is producing this, we can say this P1 production process, that represents the production of the electricity, and this P2 process, that represents abatement of the emissions. Okay, so there, in the black box kind of structure, what we can say, there means there are the inputs which we are putting in, and then whatever is exiting, that is the output. Sinking in, we can say the inputs, and exiting out, that's the outputs. That's the black box technology. But in this system, what we can say, these inputs, again we can decompose into two parts, which can be allocated to in these two processes, P1 and P2. Okay, and in this production process, finally what you are doing, this two quantity of the outputs you are producing, good and bad, YF, final out. Okay, but in this process, what you do, Within the black box, the good output is either a final output or the intermediate input. Means here what we are trying to say, even within this electricity generation process, the electricity generated during this production process one, it is not equal to the final electricity given to the consumer, because some of the electricity itself is used for the abatement activities. Okay, so that's why whatever amount of electricity is used for the abatement activities, that we can say an intermediate input. For the first process, it is an output, but for the second process, it is an input. So that's why the finally produced electricity is not equal to the electricity produced during process one. These two may differ by this quantity, because some of the electricity is used in production process 2, and here it is entering as an input rather than an output. Okay, this abatement technology has yi and bi as intermediate inputs. Similarly, this pollution, which is produced by production process 1, it is not disposed of. Disposed of quantity is after the abatement. Okay, so whatever is entering this abatement technology, this good output as an input and bad output as an input. But finally, what is produced? This YF is less than this BF is less than BI, because some of the B is abated during the abatement process. Okay, using these inputs X2 and YI. Okay, this sync from the output bundle, this source add up to the sub technologies, that way we can see. Okay, this network technology may be written this form, that this output set, these final outputs are produced using this electricity, and bad outputs that which are produced with the first process P1. Okay, similarly this Y is equal to this sum of these two Y's, and this BF what finally is produced, that belongs to production process 2. And in production process 2, we are using X2, BI and YI. These are the inputs in process 2. In process 1, only X1 is the input. Okay, so optimizing over this output set in such a way that it's the optimal allocation of all these inputs to produce optimal values of this good and bad outputs. Okay, graphically, if we have to see this network technology, we can see in this figure. Okay, so here these are the inputs. This labor, capital, coal, these are the inputs. These X are the inputs, and these inputs, what we do, we are dividing into two categories. These X inputs we put in two categories. First, some of this quantity of these inputs we are putting into the production process of the electricity. Okay, so here you are producing this electricity. Electricity is produced, but electricity as well as the pollution is produced in this production process. In this production process, both emissions as well electricity is produced. Okay, but all this pollution that we generated, that we are not disposing of. Before disposing of, we are treating it. Okay, so this is our treatment plant, which is production process 2. Okay, in this production process 2, some of this labor capital, those inputs are coming. Okay, so these outputs of this first process, all these bad outputs, they are coming for treatment. Some of the electricity is also used for treatment. And as a result, what it's doing? even after this treatment, some of the bad outputs that remains untreated, and that we have to dispose of in the environment. So finally, what is that? YF and BF. BF is equal to BI minus abated B. BF is equal to BI minus treated B. And YF is equal to Y minus YI. Okay, so in that sense, what we are saying, what is happening in this box, that also we are considering. Okay, but this conventional production technology, what they do, they consider this X as an input, and then this Y and B, finally how this is the quantity that is produced. This process is not considered. Okay, considering these processes, that's known as what we can say network technologies. Okay, but in this network technology, again, what we are assuming, that these bad outputs are weakly disposable. That kind of assumption that is it clear on that? Okay, so lastly, what we say, these bad outputs we model as byproduct of the production process for the good output. Okay, so when we are talking about these bioproduction technologies, there we need to understand what is the difference between rival products and joint products. Rival products and joint products, those also we need to differentiate. Rival products and joint products. Joint products. These we need to differentiate. In the rival products, what we can say, this is the standard conventional isoquant kind of framework. If we are producing more of one output, then less of this other is available there. So that's why there is rivalry between these outputs. When both the outputs are good outputs, we can say there is rivalry between the good outputs. Given level of the input quantity, if we are producing more of one output, then less of the other can be produced. That means there is rivalry between the outputs, these products. But joint production, what it implies, if you are producing more of one, then rather than the less, more of the other is also produced. Okay, so emission generation is a case of joint production rather than the rival products. Okay, this is one. Second, here we also need to understand that this emission causing inputs, they are not free disposable. Free input disposability, how we define it? We define that the given level of output can be produced with the given quantity of the inputs or more of that. That we are saying as free disposability of the inputs. Okay, but here what we need to differentiate between emission causing and emission non-causing inputs. These clean inputs and dirty inputs, that we need to differentiate. If we increase the quantity of the labor in the production to produce the same level of the output due to inefficiency, that we can do. Okay, but if we use more of the coal to produce the same level of electricity, what will happen to that? Emission quantity will not remain constant. Emission quantity will increase. The inefficiency in electricity generation implied by use of more coal is resulting in more of the emissions. Inefficiency reflected in terms of more of the use of labor to produce same of the electricity is not reflected in terms of more of the emissions, but more use of the coal is reflected in terms of more of the emissions. Okay, so that's why here these two inputs, their nature is different. And if we have to use less of the coal in this process. How we can do it? For that, we have to incur the cost. In terms of what? Means we have to improve our production technology. If we are improving production technology, that means we have to pay for that. Okay. Or means here, if we have to do so, if we have to do so, means we need to better technology to produce less of the emissions. That means this emission reduction, it's not in free, it's a costly affair. Okay, so means both emission causing inputs and emissions, both of these two we cannot dispose in free. That is the bioproduction technology. Okay, so how we model it? This bioproduction technology, there what we say, there are these two sub technologies. There are these two sub technologies. Okay, this T1 technology, it's used for the generation of the marketed output, electricity in this example we can see. And the second technology is what? That's reflect the production of the emissions. And in total, this bioproduction technology, what is that? It is the interaction of these two technologies, T1 and T2. Okay, so with respect to technology T1, what we assume that these inputs, either emission causing inputs or conventional inputs, both kind of inputs are fairly disposable. Free disposability of all the inputs are considered in technology T1, and free disposability of the good output. Good output is fairly disposable, inputs are fairly disposable, that is considered in technology 1. But in technology 2, what is considered? That this emission causing inputs, they are not fairly disposable. They are weakly disposable. Similarly, these bad outputs, they are not fairly disposable. They are weakly disposable. Okay, so in technology 2, this emission causing inputs and bad outputs, they are considered as costly disposable, but this good output and conventional inputs, they are considered as fairly disposable in technology 2. Okay, so then using this kind of framework, this two technology interaction framework, how we represent as a production possibility set? This is the question. And for that, what we consider, first we have this sub technology which is producing only the good output. Okay, so in the production of good output, here what we are considering, this conventional framework means this observed output is less than equal to the frontier output. These conventional inputs is more than the frontier input use. Either the conventional same is the with respect to this emission causing inputs. Okay, and here this Z, they are what? They are the intensity variables, or you can say the weights that give us this weighted sum in terms of, you can say, to represent or that make our production possibility frontier. Okay, but this sub technology of emission generation, in this sub technology, what we are considering, these bad outputs, they are not fairly disposable. Okay, these bad outputs, these observed bad outputs, they are less than equal to the frontier output, and similarly these inputs, they are not fairly disposable. Okay, and overall this bioproduction technology is represented as the interaction of these two technologies. Okay, and here in these two, you may observe that these z vectors and these lambda vectors, they are different. They are not same. They are different. Okay, so that's why these two different interacting technology is used to represent the this production process of the bad outputs in the bioproduction approach. Okay, so this is the con conceptual framework we can see, and then this DA framework we can use to define these sub-technologies. Okay, now let's quickly talk about this, you can say, this empirical application part. And here in the empirical part, what we are considering that if we have to reduce the CO2 emissions, then how it is going to affect this use of the labor, employment effects of that. Okay, so that is our whole objective. And here what we may say that India is the fourth largest producer of the CO2 emissions and second populous country with, you can say, less than 50% labor force participation rate. And in that way, if emission generation or so this emission reduction, if it is causing some kind of the effect on the labor, then it may be a very politically sensitive issue. And during this Paris Agreement, India already have pledged to reduce emission by 30-35% by this year 2030 related to 2005. And this labor concerns, they are not limited to India. That's a very of being political sensitive throughout the world. This is a major issue and it's also recognized by this Paris Agreement. Okay, so that's why what is the effect of carbon emission mitigation on the employment, that in this empirical application we are trying to see. Okay, so here in this table, this is why so. In Indian case, what we may observe that this CO2 intensity or this energy intensity of the gross output over the period of time, it's continuously declining. Okay, this number of employees in this thermal power sector, it may be increasing, or in the different sectors of the economy, sorry, it's increasing, but the growth rate is very slow. Okay, so here what we can say that in India, although there is no specific regulations with respect to CO2 emissions, but over the period of time, we are reducing, though the gross emissions may be increasing, but the intensity of the emission is declining. That we can observe. Okay, but this declining in the emissions, is it affecting the employment condition adversely or not? That is the main concern of this empirical part. Okay, so in the literature, this environmental regulations and competitiveness, there is, you can say, a rich literature available on that. And this employment effect are discussed in these three terms. Means if we say there are some regulations we put, we try to reduce the emissions. So how it is going to affect these production processes or this employment? Okay, so these effects, they may be in three terms. One means here, when we increase this regulatory stringency, that means this output demand should be reduced, means less of the good output we are supposed to produce to reduce the emissions. So as a result, the demand for labor will be also less. And intuitively, we may think in that way. Okay, because to reduce the emission, you have to reduce the good output. So that's why the demand for labor may get reduced. That you may say it's the scale, demand, or output kind of effect. Okay, second, what? Because there you have to do abatement activities, and as a result, this production cost is supposed to increase. If we are keeping the other inputs constant, more of the labor we are employing to compensate the reduction in other inputs. Okay, so as a result, this production cost, increase in production cost, that may be reflected in terms of higher labor demand. The first point, it says due to regulation, labor demand may get reduced. Second point says that because you have to do abatement activities, and if we are measuring this cost, abatement cost, only in terms of the labor, then demand for labor may be higher. Okay. Third point is that when we are get involved into this abatement activities, there may be some substitutability or complementarity between these different inputs. Okay, so as a result, some kind of factor shift may take place due to substitutability and complementarity between different inputs. And per se, we cannot say it if the inputs are complement to each other, then obviously the demand for labor may increase. But if there is substitutability between the inputs, then the demand for labor may get reduced. So these kind of effects may be there. So what is the net effect that we have to see? Okay, so here in the literature, how this regulatory stringency is measured. Okay, so most of the literature or this earlier literature, they measure this cost of inputs assigned to pollution abatement, or they use some kind of binary indicators, or they are measuring this regulatory stringency in terms of the rising energy cost. Okay, but in a developing country like India, where data is a big problem, especially with respect to this degree of the stringency of the regulation that's not available, so this first three kind of measures is difficult to apply. Okay, but the framework that we discussed, there we are not talking about explicitly taking any indicator of regulatory stringency, but there simply what we said that in during the production process, how we have to model this production of bad output and its disposability. In that way, even in the absence of these regulatory stringencies, we can measure this regulation. Okay, so that fair at all framework, some way we are, or we can say a variant of that, we are trying to use it. Okay, so here to measure this employment effect, rather than taking a framework of output maximizations, we are taking the in terms of the minimization of the labor to produce the given level of good and bad outputs. Okay, and here, so that's why we are saying minimization of the labor. Minimization of the labor for this given level of the good and bad outputs or the other inputs, where these good outputs, they may be below or on the frontier. Bad outputs, they can be at the level of the frontier. Similarly, these emission causing inputs, they are at the frontier, and other inputs, they may be at the isoquant or above than that. That kind of framework we are taking. Okay, and this frontier, this production possibility set, this is when this production technology is regulated. And this production technology, we have to compare with an unregulated technology. Okay, so in the unregulated technology, these both inputs, emission causing and non-emission causing, they are symmetrically treated. These bad outputs we are ignoring because there is no regulation on that. Okay, so in this two framework, what we are computing is this minimum labor requirement under regulatory technology and under unregulated technology. Okay, and what we can say, this cost effect or the cost of regulation is what? Just take the ratio of these two level of the efficiencies. Okay, and if this efficiencies comes to be more than one, what we can say, there is cost of regulation. This regulation is costly. Is it clear on that? Okay, moreover, we can decompose this cost effect between different terms. How much is due to technical change? How much is due to change in the level of the inputs IC, input change, and OC output change? We are decomposing into these different components that. Okay, so for this, the data we are using of the 44 sectors of the economy over this 15-year period. Okay, the data is coming from these two sources, and we have gross output as good output, emissions as bad output, labor, capital, intermediate input, renewable energy. We are saying non-emission causing inputs, and emission relevant energy is which we are say these fossil fuels. Within energy, these are two kind of energies we have: renewable energy figures and fossil fuels. Okay, and the chosen sectors, these 44 sectors, they covers about, you can say, 95-96% of the employment and gross output, and 93% of the emissions. Means our data set may be representative of the economy. Okay, so from this descriptive statistics of this first year and the terminal year, there you may observe that this gross output is almost increased at a higher rate in comparison to the emissions. Okay, so in the economy, this emission intensity is declining over the period of time, but there is huge heterogeneity in that. In the some sectors, the emissions, they may be increasing at higher speed, but in others, they may not be. Okay, so whose heterogeneity is there? The growth rate of the emissions is less than the growth rate of the economy, and employment growth is not as strong as other input use. Okay, so this result briefly I am presenting, and from there, this is the result when we are using this bioproduction technology. In the bioproduction technology, what we said that this emission causing inputs and bad outputs, the reduction in both is costly. In the weak disposability assumption, what we said that this reduction in bad is costly, but we are treating emission causing and non-emission causing inputs symmetrically. Okay, so this result shows what? This result shows that emission reduction is costly. If we have to reduce the emissions, we have to incur the cost. And here the cost we are measuring in terms of the more need of the labor, because we are keeping all other inputs constant. Reduction in emission causing inputs to reduce emission is costly. Okay, if we have to reduce, this is weak disposability and this is the bioproduction. Here, emission causing inputs is also considered reduction in that as costly, and this is a higher figure. So it implies what? If we want to reduce the use of emission causing inputs, that again is a costly. Okay, so these figures shows what? Due to this technological change, in the Indian conditions, this because this TC index throughout what we are observing, just accept this last years, this is less than 1. Either of the case we take. So here this production technology is labor saving. But this input change effect and output change effect in these two production scenarios, they are different. Okay, that may be due to this different way we are modeling. Okay, so here these results over these sectors, they are quite heterogeneous. This is brief summary in that. Okay, so now you may ask questions or any kind of comments you may make. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for the really technically sound presentation. It has enabled us to revise a lot of things which we have forgotten from our economics days. I'm sure the participants wouldn't feel the same. I request all the participants kindly raise your hands or type out the messages in case you have queries to Professor Surendra Kumar.
Any questions or any clarification?
So we have no questions, or we need some time to assimilate. Sir, I have one question. The data that you have used, WIOD, can you just throw some light on the availability, the kind of variables and
Sorry, can you repeat, please?
Can
Yeah,
you-
Rama, can you please repeat?
Sir, I wanted to know more about the WIOD database that you have used. And is it only, is it across the countries that we have the data available? And what kind of data is there on environmental related variables?
Rama, means here we are using these two sets of the data.
Yeah.
One is this world input output data. They are giving us information on, you can say, this gross output, conventional inputs, and across countries and over the sectors. Okay, here we have considered only the Indian data. Over this means 56 sectors they give. Out of this 56 sector, then we combined this data set with the other data set which is provided by OECD. OECD provides sector-wise data again for the same set of the countries, same set of the sectors for energy use as well as on emissions, CO2 emissions. These two data sets we have combined. Okay, so here out of these 56 sectors, in the 12 sectors, what we observe, they are supposed to not generating any CO2 emissions out of these 56 sectors. So here we considered 44 sectors because they are generating the emissions. Okay, and when they say this energy informations, they are giving detailed informations on different kind of energy use. Different fossil fuels, renewable energies, they are giving all separate information on that. And that information we divided into these two parts, fossil fuel energy and what you going to say emission relevant energy, and you can say renewable energy. That we did.
Any more questions for Professor Kumar, or shall we?
Nice one, sir.
Okay. You have any question, Dr. Patra, or just?
No, sir. I just told that it is very nice lecture actually, and it is very nice one. So we learned a lot actually.
So, all right then. Thank you very much, Professor Surendra Kumar, for enlightening us and taking us through the entire trajectory of the production function world, and touching the most important aspects of environmental impact of environment on very specific economic variables like employment, etc. and much can be done in this area. And you have really opened up a lot of possibilities for further research. So thank you so much, sir. So we'll be stopping here. And any queries you can pose to Dr. Surendra anytime in the future. Yes, sir.
Yes, sure.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Lord. Thanks to all
Thank
of you. And thank you, Raman.
Participants are requested to be in this meeting. Please don't leave, and we'll join you by 5 o'clock with the section with